This is the People Before Politics show, broadcast every Sunday at 6 p.m. Hosts Damon K. Jones and A.J. Woodson bring you the news that impacts our community. Join us for unfiltered, unapologetic coverage of the stories that matter most. Black Westchester Magazine presents the People Before Politics show, the news with the Black point of view.
Thank you to everyone who supported us through Super Chat. Your contributions keep independent media alive and thriving. We couldn't do it without you. Stand up, speak out, rock the message that matters, community before party. Get your shirt today and let your vote wear your interests and values over party loyalty. Stand strong, speak loud, wear the truth. The Black Mental Health Matters Tee. Support health, wellness, mental clarity, and independent media. Get yours now.
Peace and blessings, everybody. How's everybody doing? This is a great Sunday, and we are back. We are back. Black Westchester Magazine, the People Before Politics show, and my name is Damon K. Jones. I'm the publisher of People Before Politics, and we have a great show today for you. Yep, we get another clap, and we have a great show for you today. Friend of the show, who is he's a researcher, accountant. He's known for bringing down, if anybody knows the great federal case with Crazy Eddie, Sam Antar, and he's going to be coming on in 30 minutes to talk about is there a RICO case coming to Attorney General Tish James? We already know that there is an investigation, but is there a RICO case coming? Now, for those who don't know who Sam Antar is, he's the gentleman that found all the information that led to the federal investigation of New York State Attorney General Tish James in, I guess, a possible mortgage fraud, alleged real estate fraud, and we're trying to find out, if the investigation is going on, whether they will have an actual indictment. So Sam is going to come on and explain that. And we're also going to talk about, man, like we're gonna have a conversation on how money works in politics. I think we don't have that conversation about how money actually works in politics. There's big money. Like if you see 4 or 5 different mailers that come to your house, right? Somebody had to pay for that, right? It wasn't the U.S. Post Office didn't just give the politician free to drop off his mail, his advertising in your mailbox, right? That costs. And I think one of the problems that we have as people, we don't question who's spending the money, right? We don't question who's literally spending all this money, and especially in the Black communities. Just because people send you mailers don't mean that politician is a good politician. People are putting big money behind these politicians for something. It's not that they just think that they're nice people. They're getting something out of it. Trust me. And this is probably one of the reasons that Black communities all throughout the nation look in the condition that they're in, because the average Black person, average hardworking Black person that goes to work every day, comes home, take care of their families and pay their taxes on time or pay rent on time. When you pay rent, you're actually paying taxes because you're paying the owner of the building and they have to pay taxes on the property. So you are participating in paying those taxes to get city services. But then when you look and you don't have the actual city services that's needed, and then every 2-3 years the city is going up on your taxes, there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. So, especially in Black communities where they build low income housing. They don't build them in the white community, especially this is Black Westchester. Name a city other than Yonkers, and Yonkers don't even build those type of buildings no more. But name a city that builds the buildings that Mount Vernon do. You can't in Westchester. You can't, because they're not allowing it. So the question is, why are they allowing it in Black communities in Westchester County and specifically Mount Vernon? And to the point that people that work in Mount Vernon, live in Mount Vernon, make too much money to even get in the buildings. And then they end up bringing people from different areas of the 5 boroughs in New York State and put them in these buildings, which ends up putting burden on the services of the city. And the city doesn't get anything for it. And then your taxes go up. And then there's high crime and violence. Then your city services is strapped. How are they building these buildings in Mount Vernon don't have a functioning hospital? Has anybody questioned that? Are we actually questioning those type of issues in Mount Vernon? We should. I got a new book out called Emotional Politics, Logical Failure, because we vote for our emotions and then we wonder why nothing's changed, because we're not voting logically, and we're putting in people that manage our conditions instead of changing our conditions for the better. And I think we have to grow as people to really use our vote that's going to benefit us. Not just because we just want to vote against Trump, or we just want to, we're just voting for this party, or I like her. She knew my aunt, so I'm going to vote for her. Absolutely not. Don't do that. That's not a reason you vote. You put somebody in office because she was friends with your aunt. No, that's not why you do it. You use your vote to create change in your community. And if you don't see change, why do you keep putting the same people in office? I mean, that's just part of having common sense. If we're going to be intelligent people, amen. So welcome to Black Westchester People Before Politics show. My partner is going to be coming on soon. So, I'm working the board and talking. Usually he talks while I work the boards and bring things up. So bear with me until he actually comes on, because trying to what I want to do is bring up, if people haven't seen, trying to bring up. There we go. Let me edit it up for y'all. So literally, I just want to. So for y'all that are watching, please check out our website, Black Westchester Magazine. It's the news with the Black point of view. So definitely check out our website. We have some great articles. Mount Vernon High School 2025 Hall of Fame inductees. God bless them. God bless all the people that have been inducted in the 2025 Hall of Fame. Then we have another article, Inside the Mind of a Pro, how mental health care varies across the NBA, NFL, and NHL. I think this is a good article. This is definitely a great article. for people to understand that pro football players go under a lot of stress. The Essence Fest. Our culture is not a marketing strategy. Essence Fest, Target, and the price of our presence by Nikki Porcher. Yeah, there was a lot of controversy around this Essence Fest. I don't know who James is. Who James? I don't know who James is. James is a fraud. Who are you talking about, brother? Representative Lattimore recognizes local NAACP leaders in 16th Congressional District. He gave the NAACP a big shout out. Big shout out to the NAACP. Hope isn't on a budget. What Zohran Mandami's victory means to Black New Yorkers. That's the biggest conversation that has been literally happening now. Zohran Mandami, I hope I said his name right, won the primary over former Governor Andrew Cuomo, which was a big upset. People really thought Cuomo was going to pull it off, but he pulled it off, and his victory speech set a lot of people back because there's things that he promised the people that economically it just can't happen. it just can't happen, because the numbers just doesn't support what he's saying. And I'm just going to give you an example is free transit. The MTA is barely making the money, barely operating now. And to give free buses and free subways will literally break the system. I mean, it is what it is. I believe Denver, I have to look at the article again. It was Denver that actually tried it, and it was a disaster. It was definitely a disaster. And he's talking $30 minimum wage. I don't know anybody. I have a business. I have a couple of business. My wife has a business. There's no way she could pay somebody $30 an hour. I'm just being honest. It sounds good. It sounds real good. But the reality that these mom and pop stores, happy Sunday. These mom and pop stores, these mom and pop stores are not going to be able to afford $30 an hour. I think it's $17 now. Like, some of them stores are struggling now to actually pay for that. Well, Amber, I'm not sure what you're talking about. You're talking about the big blue pill that independents oppose at 73. Well, I mean, you know what? And either y'all going to pay, either they're going to pass the bill, or the other tax codes are going to go into effect and everybody will suffer. I mean, it is what it is. Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, Sherry, if he's a citizen. I am not sure. I'm not going to say that he is or he isn't because I really don't know. Like he came to me, he came out, he literally came out of nowhere. He literally came out of nowhere. So I'm not sure. Let me bring my partner in. I'm not sure. Like they said he's here on a visa, but I don't know. Well, I think you can be elected official on a visa because isn't Arnold Schwarzenegger here on a visa? I think so. So I think he can be here on a visa. I think he can be elected official on a visa. I think he can. I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that. But I had heard the rumblings. I have heard the rumblings about possibly they was gonna pull his visa, but I'm not sure. It's hard to imagine, but I do not know. Yeah, well, we will see. You know, we will definitely see what happens. But you know, for a conversation for another time, I really think that this gives Eric Adams a better chance on winning in the November 11th because Eric has always been in the center of a lot of the policies, and he never been far left. So that's something. I mean that's something. That's something. The voters are going to have to come out, man. You know, I have to be next Sunday. I have to be on a show of an organization, and you know, we have to really get black men to participate in elections. They are the missing key in voting. And it's not about they voting against women. No, it's like what are their interests? Women have interests. Yeah, he's a Democrat. Yeah. But Eric is an independent. Is a citizen. Just got it 7 years ago. Oh, okay. Okay, and welcome everybody that's watching, man. Like, thank you everybody that's tuning in, and please like while we have this conversation. You know, at 6:30, our the friend of the show, Sam Antar, is coming on, and we're gonna talk about Mandami and his Sam Antar's latest article on his blog. AJ, what's the name of his blog again? White collar? Is it white? Jesus, I forgot. And then we have recent letter to the editor by a different Sam. That's a friend. By a different Sam, but I think sometimes they're on them same missions. Of Rise Up Mount Vernon, which is a political action committee that they must be prosecuted under the RICO statutes by Samuel Rivers. Check out blackwestchester.com for that article. He lays out why they should be investigated, and you can follow the other articles on Black Westchester. There's a bill that revoked his citizen if he's a communist. It's called a communist. Yes, thank you. You're absolutely right. I saw something with that. The question is, are they going to use it? Are they actually going to use it against an open socialist? That's the question. That's the question we got to talk about. Like, are they literally going to use it? As a result of these non-disclosures, his naturalization can be revoked. Really, if established as alleged, it will take the DOJ to investigate. Well, yeah. Thank you, Orlando. I think the DOJ is going to have to, they're not there. It will have to be a proper investigation before they pull it. If they pull it, you know what I'm saying? They will have to put an investigation. So, but that would be a crazy political move. If they do white collar fraud. Yep. Check out white collar fraud. For Sam Antar. Hey man, we got 100 people watching, 120, man. Please give us some likes, fellas. Give us some likes, man. So we can work the YouTube algorithm as we give you the news, the black point of view, if y'all don't mind. And recently, like with all the Iranian stuff, ICE arrested 11 Iranian nationals in a 48-hour operation amid heightened border security. See, and that's a lot of things with the border issue is that they're combatants coming over. We can't say that they're not, but if you got 10 million people and you don't think that those countries that don't like us are not sending people through the border, we're just fooling ourselves. We're definitely fooling ourselves. So they arrested that ICE. I mean, how do people feel about ICE? However people feel about ICE, man, and that's a whole nother show to have a conversation on what's going on back and forth with ICE. But you know what? To be honest with you, I did 33 years in law enforcement. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, man. Thank you. Welcome to the show, man. Please follow. We put shows up all throughout the week, and we're live on every Sunday and Friday mornings if I could get up in time. I'm live on the morning tea, and we do a weekend review. Joe's aides had an agenda, scary. I think they did. To let that many people, and I do believe that they just announced that, it's 0 border crossings. They knocked it down in 0 to 0 border crossings, allegedly, in 6 months. In 6 months. Thank you. They knocked it down. So I did 33 years in the Westchester County Department of Corrections. And the issue with ICE, it's always been, even under Obama, let's not get it twisted. Obama deported more illegal migrants than any other president. So let's not get it crazy. But the issue with ICE and releasing was an issue even with Obama, and they got that law 287G. Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you. But it was an issue back then with Obama with 287G. Could the police work with ICE, or would the police work with ICE? Some cities was not allowing this. Listen, this is like people are acting like it's new, this issue, but this issue was going on under President Obama. I know for a fact because I did articles on it. So I mean, this is nothing new. We're acting like there's nothing new, but they're at a hiding. I don't understand. Like there wasn't all these marches and all this stuff when Obama was doing it. And that's the question. Like, what was the difference between now and then? They did the same thing. The law is the law. There wasn't no people going to court trying to stop it in court. Wasn't nobody doing that. And they were taking them right out of the jail. Matter of fact, the jail was notifying ICE when a person was when a person's time was up, and they had a certain amount of time to come get them before they let them out. Under Obama, and I know that because I worked there. So what happens now? They're not even doing that now under Trump. So what changed?
Well, there was, am I on the screen? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't see myself. So Republicans in the United States did oppose President Obama's deportation policies and executive actions on immigrants, viewing them as an overreaching of executive authority and an abandonment of immigration law enforcement. They sought to combat these policies through various means, including legislative actions, legal challenges, and political pressure. So there was, on the other side, that was one of the major complaints about Obama, the deportation.
But was there riots in the street? No, it wasn't. It wasn't all the stuff. What I'm talking about what's going on out here now. See, that's not new. You're going to oppose. You're going to oppose that. But we still did it. We still did it. But there wasn't rioting in the streets. There wasn't people breaking police cars and all that nonsense that's going on in California. They wasn't doing that back then. And that's a fact. Yeah, between partisan lines, but nobody was doing that. Nobody was doing that. I mean, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I mean, Obama still did it, and he still got up, and he still had the highest deportation record of any president.
So, while protests related to immigration policies occurred during the Obama administration, the information provided focused on political action and legislative efforts by Republicans to counter Obama's policies rather than widespread riots directly related to Republican opposition. Protests are mentioned, but they are primarily described as actions taken by immigration advocates to pressure Obama's administration to curb deportation.
Right. But where did we see what we saw in LA? That they had to bring in the National Guard. Where did we see that? We didn't see that. And that's my point. Like, we didn't see all that. This is crazy. This is insane. I mean, and we didn't see. Did we see Republicans out there doing all that stuff? No. I mean, they fought it within the halls of the legislation of the legislators of the Hill. Absolutely. I mean, that's what the opposition party does. But that stuff that went on in LA is unacceptable. It's totally unacceptable. And then at the end of the day, we just mess up our own communities. We just set our own police cars on fire. And I'll be straight music. If someone up here where I live at set a police car on fire, I'm knocking them out. That's my tax dollars. You ain't setting up my tax dollars on fire. And you probably don't even live here. I mean, a resident of the community. And you breaking windows and you do all this stuff, which the taxpayers have to pay for at the end of the day. I don't understand how we burn down and mess up our own stuff.
Well, I want to welcome everybody who's tuning into the show. We got 181 people right now on the various, as we simulcast live on Facebook, YouTube and X. Anybody who is on YouTube, please subscribe. We're at 9.72K and help us get to 10K. Everybody watching, you like what you see, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button so that you will, get alerted every time we post a video. If you like what you see, we greatly appreciate y'all, your support.
Hold on. Got to bring you back in. My bad. Got to bring everybody back in.
Keep it coming. Yeah, because you had that that mic, that laptop face in front of me. Welcome back to the show, to Sam Antar. You always know when Sam Antar is coming, because I've seen so many things on Twitter or X. Oh man, they the only people that gave Sam Antar that much time. Oh yeah, we love Sam. You got a big following.
Hold on 1 second.
All across social media, I see a lot of comments about you being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure. I like the format because when you're on television, like I was on Newsmax earlier today, and you really don't get a chance to go into depth. So right. This is when you, and sometimes, we're human. We misspeak. We don't say what we actually meant to say, and you have no recovery from that.
Right.
So that's why I like being on your podcast.
There's no more long form shows like that. There's very few. This used to be the standard, and it's very long form. Everything is in 15-minute blocks or whatever. You come in, you say what you got to say on both sides, and you move to the next thing. And sometimes you can't get everything you want to say in 10, 15 minutes. I used to be on WVOX on the Bob Marone show, and I used to have my 10 minutes. And every time I got off, I'm like, oh man, I forgot to mention this. I forgot to mention this. It's hard to get everything in.
No matter how good or bad I did, I always say, I should this, should that.
Right. Yeah, so I understand. So we try to, when we can, we try to have more of these long form interviews and discussions because you can get more into it.
Actually, I like radio better because I don't have to wear a shirt and tie. I can do the interview in my underwear.
Yeah. Exactly. So Sam,
hey, there's some Zooms where I still got my boxes on. You can only see me from the top up. So I ain't gonna lie with you.
I always tell the producers, don't go any lower because it'll show my belly. I gained 25 pounds because of this magnificent lady, Letitia James.
Yeah, she's been keeping you busy, man. She's been keeping you busy though.
She's very high maintenance, and she takes up a lot of my life. She's a high maintenance lady.
Let me ask you a question because someone asked this shortly after you were on last time. And I really didn't know the full answer, and I haven't had time with all the local stuff going on. I haven't had time to get into it. The situation where the governor put certain amount of money up, so it's towards her defense. Can you speak? What's going on with that?
They passed the bill last minute. It was like they tried to sneak it in towards the end of the legislative session. It was a $10 million allocation. It was really the only person that they can think of that was facing so-called political persecution is James. So they didn't have to put a name on it, but they passed the bill reimbursing him up to $10 million for political persecution.
So the question people are having without, the regular people who don't really understand what's going on, it looks like we're using of our taxpayer dollars to defend her in a case that we shouldn't be paying for to defend her.
That's correct. I'll explain to you why. You guys have bought insurance before like I have, okay? There's something called they can't cover certain things as a matter of public policy. In other words, they can't cover me if I intend to shoot somebody, right? And the person gets injured and I have to pay the medical bills. That's against public policy. In other words, intentional acts. Here, okay, you have intentional acts that are also completely outside of her employment. You see, there was another case, the sex offender case. Did she appear on your show?
No, not on the 13th. On the 13th.
Okay. Well, there was a case where somebody said that she covered up inappropriate sexual behavior by one of her top lieutenants, and in that case, yes, it is covered, and that's why the state paid for her legal fees for her defense. Okay, because she was in the supervisory role and she allegedly failed to do her job. That we get. But this thing has nothing to do with any of that. This is mortgage fraud before she even became the Attorney General of New York, while Trump was still a Democrat. While most of your listener or watching, whatever, most of the audience was in diapers.
Right. Right.
That's not the case over here. Now, the funny part is that the same law firm she used to go after Cuomo for sexual abuse, she used to defend her in the lawsuit where somebody was alleging that she failed to rein in the sexual abuse. So she uses Davis Polk for one thing to go after Cuomo. And then she has them defending her.
Wow, that's insane, man. That's
well,
insane.
On the street they say AG stands for aspiring governor.
Exactly.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't think she's going to be governor again. I think if you're a Democrat, there's a great alternative. His name is Richie Torres. I don't agree with all of his policies, but one thing I can say about Richie, he's common sense and he speaks his mind and he's not afraid to ruffle feathers. Okay, yes, disagreeing doesn't mean disrespecting. On the other side, you got Elise Stefanik, and who is the McCarthy, the lieutenant governor, under Pataki. Betsy McCauley, I think her name is.
Oh, she's running. Isn't what's his name? That beat Mondaire Jones. Isn't he running?
Lawler?
Yes, yeah. He's running. He's running too. And
yes.
So I think between these people, I'm not trying to pick the winner of them. I'm not trying to show you whatever. I don't think that she's going to be governor next time around. If she wins the Democratic primary, she's going to lose the election. If she loses the Democratic primary, I think the Democrats have a shot to beat the Republican.
Yeah, because what's his name? What's the brother's name? The lieutenant governor that she locked out of Delgado. Yeah, he's well liked. I mean, and she did him dirty, but we're gonna see, man, because the Democratic Party machine in New York is like crazy. Like it's really crazy.
I will tell you this. I went over Delgado's finances like I went over Tish. In the names of the police captain in the Godfather movie, when Michael is meeting with the Turk, I frisked him. He's clean.
Well, hey, listen, he's honest. You know what I'm saying? Like that's rare. Right, that's rare when you're dealing with campaign finances, and a lot of people, don't know where to look.
Oh yeah, that's true too. I mean, I would like to see. I know of him. I haven't really followed the the ins and outs of it. I'd like to see anybody but her with common sense run.
I don't know a lot about his policies or his beliefs. All I know is he got a wicked jump shot because they were showing that when he was running.
I don't have to agree with his policies as long as he's a thinker, as long as he's intelligent. There are things like Richie Torres. I disagree with him on congestion pricing.
I disagree with him a few times too.
Right. Yeah. But I agree with him on law and order and a bunch of other issues. You're not going to get a person that you're going to be. You'd have to have your head examined if you're fully aligned with one person, because that means that person is developing a cult. Go ahead.
But are they going to remain going far left? Because see, sooner or later, going so far left, it's going to hurt the party. It's done hurt the party nationally, right?
Well,
New
Richard
York,
Torres broke away from the far left in that last.
Yes.
He caught a lot of flack for breaking away.
Yeah, and he's still getting a lot of flack. It's not easy.
Yeah.
Especially in New York, you have to think beyond what you see in front of the camera, what you read.
Mm-hmm.
This guy must be under incredible pressure for the stances he's taken. Okay, absolutely. I commend him for it. That shows you that he's a man. Okay, he's not afraid. I could disagree with here and there, but this is the kind of a guy that you want to be governor. I'm not saying he's the only one, but this is the kind of guy, a guy that stands up for his principles. Even if you disagree with him, he fights back. He has articulate arguments. He's got common sense. Yeah, he screws up sometimes. We're all human. That's why I have a lot of respect for him. I mean, I will tell you this, barring any other candidate in the Democratic primary as a registered Democrat, I'd vote for him.
Yeah. I mean,
you should get him on your show.
No, we're gonna try. We're definitely.
I reached out to him before. I'm gonna try to reach out to him again.
Damon, all you have to do, Damon, just pretend you're Samuel Jackson.
I could get him on the show, right?
You don't know. Sometimes behind the scenes, Damon curse like Samuel Jackson.
Oh yeah. Someone,
one of my favorite actors of all time.
Someone asked, so why has Letitia James not been prosecuted?
Okay, white collar, unlike street crime, okay, where it's pretty black and white. You got fingerprints on the weapon, you have a witness that did it, etc. Most white collar cases, you got to piece together millions of pieces of paper of evidence. Okay, some circumstantial, some direct. You got to develop a foundation of evidence. Now they have a lot of evidence, but you know what's missing? Have they spoken to the title companies? Have they spoken to the insurance broker? Have they spoken to the mortgage officer? Have they spoken to this? That's that's part of the process, and that takes time.
Yeah. I don't think she will be.
What?
I don't think she'll be indicted no sooner than the end of this year. I think around the end of this year.
Probably. I don't know.
They take so the reason the feds are so successful and have such a successful conviction rate, they take time and they line everything up. When they come for you, they pretty much already got you.
That's what my lawyer said back in the Crazy Eddie days. He says, you better cop a plea, mate.
Right, because it's like they're investigating, but they don't announce that they're investigating. They might be, the feds will be on your block. They'll be the people cutting your grass. They'll be doing all kinds. You don't know who they are. They take their time and build their case, and they like to knock it out the park. Like they know they can knock it out the park before they actually go in. And especially with a high-profile person like herself, you want to make sure that you have everything if you're going to go for it.
On something like this, you have to be 99.9. Let's put this. Even if what do you call it? Let's say she committed a crime. Absolutely. And I believe she committed a crime. Okay. And they believe that she committed a crime. If they feel they're not going to win the case, they're not going to bring it.
Right. Okay.
That doesn't mean she's innocent. That just means that it wasn't a winnable case. That's all that means. I wish Jonathan, right? That was his name, Jonathan, the lawyer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wish he was here.
Yeah. You know what?
Get him on the air. Get him on the air now. Get him on the air now.
Next time we got to bring him on, man. I totally forgot to ask him, and it just slipped my mind. So, Jonathan, I still love you, man. I still love you. But what you talked about, in your latest about possible RICO.
Yes, and it's a very technical thing, and it's very difficult to describe on the air. But I'll give you the dumbed down version, not because the audience is dumb, but it's a very complicated thing to understand. Okay, if you have a series of criminal acts over certain periods of time, and you have what's known as an enterprise. Now, an enterprise doesn't have to be like a business. It can be one person that utilized a bunch of enablers. That's an enterprise too. They tried to get me on RICO. Okay. And, what else is there? Let me see my hair. But anyway, if you have a string of frauds, you can go back 20 years under RICO.
Okay.
Here it is. Okay, here it is. Okay. It has to affect interstate commerce. This does. Okay. A pattern, 2 related crimes within 10 years. Definitely. She did 10 mortgages in 20 years. Okay. And a connection between the defendant and the enterprise through criminal activity. The enterprise in this case would be defined as her whole ecosystem that's around her that enabled her to do the behavior.
Okay.
So his latest article, I just want to, I put a link up, how Zohran Mandami, I hope I pronounced it right, grassroots campaign engineered the perfect political heist. Written on
we're going to get to that next.
Yeah. This guy's got a money trail. This guy has a money trail that makes a money launderer like me jealous.
Yeah, we're going to get to that one next.
I gotta give you one thing. With Letitia James, I would call a dumb crook. He's sharp. He knows how to do his thing.
Yeah. So let's get into the points of the RICO, because you mentioned, I'm trying to find man, you write a lot of stuff, man. I can't keep up with you. I'm trying to, you got to certain points of the RICO.
Because I got no social life anymore. That's all.
Hey man, listen, man, we're up all night writing ourselves. So what was the
go ahead?
So the article you're talking about is Albany's ultimate protection racket, the triangle that became a circle of self-enrichment. Is that it?
No, that's not the RICO argument, but we can get into that too.
Wow.
She used the same law firm to go after Cuomo to defend her in a sexual assault action, which we previously discussed. Okay, so she's got the same law firm now.
Really?
What? In other words, Davis Polk helped her burn Cuomo, and now Davis Polk is defending her from being burned. Now, lawyers represent both sides, but here's where the story gets interesting. They had a contract with the U.S. Attorney's Office starting in 2023, I think it was. And the litigation is ongoing. They're filing motions and papers and whatever, right? And they're not getting paid. A year later, her husband joins the law firm, Kathy Hochul. His husband joins the law firm. And within a couple of months, all of a sudden, the money starts gushing in. In other words, they had to wait between the start of the contract and when they got paid was 451 days. Now, would you wait 451 days for your money?
Right.
All right. Well, so that is red flag number one. Okay. She chose, Kathy Hochul didn't choose who the attorneys were going to be. She chose who the attorneys were going to be. Okay.
Right.
So, and Kathy Hochul's husband is part of the firm. So now, okay, they're getting $480,000 from the Attorney General's office, right? That all of a sudden suddenly started to get paid when the husband came in, right? Now you got the $10 million that she had the bill passed to cover Letitia James's defense. If the Trump administration brings charges against her. So, listen, I'm an old guy. I've been around. Nothing in my world happens by accident, okay? Nothing is spontaneous or whatever. Everything, especially in politics, it's all transactional. So what you have here is, okay, what you have here is Tish James scratching her back and she's scratching Tish James's back. Okay, this is how they, go ahead.
So that $10 million that they was trying to give Tish James was literally going to the law firm or possibly allegedly?
No. It's going to go to a separate law firm. She's represented by this clown, Ab Lowe. A below,
Okay.
B,
Okay.
low. Okay, but the fact is that she is using her husband's law firm, the law firm that he's associated with. His first year at the law firm, he made $950,000.
Jesus.
I couldn't even steal that much of Crazy Eddie's.
So yeah, see, people don't understand how this works, man. How these people get rich, and this is how they get rich.
They all cover for each other. Now, that being said, when push comes to shove, believe me, Kathy Hochul will throw her under the bus because it's all a matter of survival at a certain point. But right now, Kathy Hochul is covering her rear end with $10 million. Okay, and she has, and the Attorney General has a relationship with her husband's firm. Now, there's another thing. Now, like today, there was the Gay Rights Parade, and tying two together, you have Letitia James side by side with Zohran Mandami, right? Who's another character, okay? And the situation with him is he's presenting himself as a completely grassroots candidate. In other words, I'm the guy, I'm the man for the common man, whatever. So what I did was I examined his campaign finances, and I saw that the primary donations from individuals was $1.7 million. But guess what? Every single dollar of it, or maybe $4,000 or $5,000 off, okay? But just about every single dollar of it was raised by bundlers. Okay.
Now explain bundlers.
And these are the people. They accumulate the money. Okay, they solicit the money and then they turn it over to the campaign.
Oh, that's Kenny Plummer.
And 94% of that money was one person. 94%. So she did raise $1.7 million, but it didn't come from organic donations. I go on the website and I fill out the form, right? Or whatever. It came through the efforts. 94% of it, about $1.5 million, came through the efforts of a single bundler. That doesn't sound grassroots to me. Now, that $1.7 million got her about $7 million in matching funds. So we're at now $8.6 million. Now,
right.
Two super PACs that are supporting her. They spent $1.9 million either helping, supporting him. It's hard to get Tish out of my mind. There were two super PACs that were supporting Zohran.
Right.
They spent $1.9 million either aiding Zohran or going opposition to Cuomo to help Zohran. So if you look what they raised, $1.9 million, and you compare it with the money that was raised through bundlers, where's most of most of his money coming from? It's coming from super PACs. It's not coming from the common man or the common lady.
Right.
Now, these super PACs, okay, one of them is from the Working Families Party. Okay, the Working Families Party, we have ranked choice voting in New York. Okay, and then there's another super PAC that's supposedly independent. The other super PAC gave money in direct proportion of the ranking by the Working Families Party. That suggests collusion. Then you have situations where there's circular money coming in, money coming out to the same contributor expense, whatever. In other words, round trip transactions. There's a lot of things there that need to be looked at. But the fact of the matter is, he's running an AstroTurf campaign. It's not a grassroots campaign. Almost 100% of his money is either from super PACs or bundlers, and most of the initial money. Let's not take into account the campaign finance, the matching funds, because that's just an automatic. But most of his money comes from the super PACs. All of his money comes from super PACs and bundlers. So how do you call that grassroots? Okay,
Right.
look, that's why I have to admire him that he was able to get away with this kind of stuff.
It sounds a lot like what AIPAC did against Jamal Bowman in the George Latimer race, the congressional race. AIPAC was the super PAC, spent ridiculous money
Probably
in opposition.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
They spent like 1 point. They spent ridiculous. The most expensive congressional race in history.
Right, but I don't think Latimer was trying to claim that he was a grassroots campaign, or maybe he was. I don't know. I haven't followed the race.
He was trying to claim it.
He was?
No, he wasn't trying to claim he was grassroots. He was running as a Democratic candidate.
Right.
Wasn't
in this case, you have Zohran Mandami, he's socialist, communist, whatever you want to call him. I think he's just an anarchist. I wouldn't call him a socialist or communist. But in this case, okay, he's running on a platform that doesn't exist. Okay? And he's trying to say, I have 50,000 volunteers. Okay. So why are you spending millions of dollars on payroll and consultants and this and that and this and that? And when you add it up, the amount of money that he spent winning the primary came out to $165 per volunteer. That's a lot of money to spend for an army of volunteers. If you believe his numbers.
Right. If you're running grassroots, and you're spending over $10,000 in a local election.
There's nothing wrong with selling an image. That's what politics is all about.
No, absolutely.
Right. It's all about whether he's selling an honest image or a dishonest image. He's selling, in this case, we can agree or disagree with his politics, and that's fine. That's America. We're all entitled to our opinions. But in this case, the main premise that he's running on doesn't exist. It's a lie. It's as simple as that. Right. I'm sure Cuomo uses super PAC. I know that whatever.
But grassroots is not. Grassroots and super PAC, it does not go together, right? I don't care what level.
Bundlers, grassroots, bundlers, and super PACs.
Yeah, no, they don't. Grassroots don't go together.
Doesn't go together, irrespective of politics. Like you mentioned, the other case, the one, who is that trying the AIPAC money case, whatever. Right. So but it is what it is.
Right. And that's how people get fooled.
Politics, grassroots refers to a movement or campaign that originates and is supported by ordinary citizens on a local level rather than established political leaders or organization. It emphasizes a bottom-up approach where public opinion is mobilized to influence policy or effective change, as opposed to a super PAC, which is, using
he's not bottom up. He's not bottom up.
No, exactly.
Definition and whatever. He's not bottom up. He's top down.
Super PACs buy politicians that have their interests that have a like interest in
You know what he's doing? Listen, I did fraud for 20 years. There's really no difference between a white collar criminal and a politician. They're really both one and the same in most cases. Of course, we may find a couple of honest politicians out there like Richie Torres, whatever, but most of them are just as slimy and dirty. Okay, and in order to get people to trust you, they have to like you. So what's the object of all of these ads? He's trying to get people to like him. Okay, this way, when he gets into power, he can do things that he wants to do. That people like, and things that he wants to do that people dislike. That's the way. That's the way it is. As I said, the only thing is that he's selling a story that doesn't exist. It's kind of like there was this guy Blumenthal. He said that he was in Vietnam in combat, and it turned out that he wasn't. It's the same thing. He's selling a lie.
Yeah. Right. And let me and for the people that's watching, if you get 10 mailers You get mailer after mailer after mailer after mailer after mailer.
Guilty. I get them all.
Yeah, that
Right into
candidate ain't grassroots. That candidate, if you keep getting mailers, do you know how much mailers cost? That's not a grassroots operation.
Yes, but these are mailers not from him. If they're getting mail, these are mailers from third parties.
Right.
No.
Same thing with the George Latimer. Like all those mailers didn't come from friends from George Latimer. They came from AIPAC.
I do agree. I do agree in that. But there is a connection and a loyalty for them. Do you think that politician is not going to carry out their agenda? Then you're fooling yourself.
That was the complaint on the local level with the Rise Up Mount Vernon PAC, and they were sending out a lot of mailers and email blasts and everything to influence the election, to candidates that had their interests in mind. Because you got to figure. So here's the thing. Here's the breakdown. I think Damon wrote this in an article too. The average person, we don't spend millions and millions of dollars on our campaign for our candidates. Right. We don't support.
Well, yeah,
we don't have that money. We don't have that money. But those who spend that type of money, when they call, those phone calls are the first to be answered. When the average person, you and I call,
yes,
you know what I'm saying? Then we got to get called back. Those people who spend that kind of money, when they call, their phones get answered. You know what I'm saying? And they advise on how you should rule on certain things. A lot of Republicans, they got their handlers they got to check with before they rule on certain things. Because
they're all guilty. They're all guilty of it. Don't get me wrong, but some pretend to be grassroots, and some actually are grassroots. He's not. But going back, first of all, let's go back to the mailers. I live in an apartment building. I go down to my mailbox. I pick them up, and the trash can is 2 feet away. It never makes it to the elevator. Boom, gone with the mailers. And the other thing is, I like being able to discuss this at length because on TV we can never get into this depth. Yeah, you got to get it out. But his problem is that he is selling. The problem here is he is selling a message. Okay, we can agree or disagree. That doesn't matter. And people are buying this message. I'm going to get this for free, that for free, this for free, that for free. And something. He wasn't even backed by the Black community or the Puerto Rican or the Hispanic community. Okay, he wasn't backed by the Orthodox Jewish community, which I belong to. He was backed by mostly secular white people. That's what got him to win. Now, also, there's a situation that I was on the Newsmax, and the professor brought this up on the segment. I don't remember his name, so I can't credit him, but we tried. He says, well, don't forget that the 5 days before the primary, we were getting 100-degree weather. And it's hard for old people to get out. He said that's actually November. So I don't know. But he ran. I would say, let's put it this way: whether he's a crook or not, whether he's a criminal or not, let's put that aside. Okay, whether they committed fraud or not, whatever, he ran. I would, as a former criminal myself, he ran a very envious campaign. Something that I would have done if I had chosen that route as a criminal, as a decided person.
Interesting.
Remember the movie where Eddie Murphy played the con man and ended up getting into Congress, and then they exposed him for all his crimes? He said, "I've done that, but it compares far less to what all the stuff that's going on here. Y'all are the real criminals." He said, "There's a whole nother level of crime here." But
right.
Yeah, but that's it's very interesting, how the game of politics works at that level to influence people to vote. But what you said, Sam, was very interesting. He didn't get the African American vote. He didn't get the Hispanic vote, right? It was secular, the Jewish vote. It was secular. It was secular white people that
Pretty much
was,
secular white people.
yeah.
There's one.
And then,
There's one very orthodox community that's anti-Israel, whatever. But pretty much that's what he got. Yeah.
right. And then I saw a gentleman. I don't know how true it was. He was breaking down that not only those demographics, but they were rich. It was more of the wealthy people putting this guy in that's promising everybody something. And, and more of the working class went for Cuomo.
Yes, and here's part of the problem that you have. Okay, the wealthy white people, let's call them that. Okay, that he wants to now tax their houses. We put out something the other day.
He's not going to do that.
Okay, the problem is that the media portrays people of color as being far more radical than they actually are. And to do that, they platform the extremist elements of people of color. Okay? In other words, you're not being platformed, you're a moderate. Okay? You may be left of center or right of center. I don't even ask you whatever. But you're a human being, you have common sense. And that counts to me.
Right.
What they're doing is they're platforming all of it. Every black person's a socialist, is this, is that, right? But the reality is, because I have a lot of friends that are black, that are Hispanic, even Muslim. The reality is most people are pretty pragmatic and conservative, okay? They don't go for this bullshit, defund the police. I heard you on the air. They don't go for burning cars or whatever.
Right.
Most people don't go for that crap, okay? Now, here's the other problem that you have, okay? In New York City, and I did the numbers. I might be slightly off because I wasn't prepared to discuss this, but the main idea is what counts, okay? In New York City, a black person is 9 times more likely to be murdered than a white person, okay?
Right.
A black person is about 5 times more likely to be the victim of violent crime than a white person. So who's going to suffer if you defund the police? Me?
Black people, exactly.
Okay. So, but that explains why most, I'm not saying all, because we shouldn't generalize, but most black people, okay, are pragmatic. They're middle of the road. They just want to go out there about their day. They don't want to be a victim of crime. They don't want people selling drugs or prostitutes on their street corners, just like everybody else. But the problem is, okay, we can get into root causes, another day, poverty and everything else. But the reality is, the practical reality is that these policies, I believe, and people can argue against me, I believe are going to hurt people of color.
Well, listen, I've said that.
Let me just say this real quick. More black people are not anti-police. We're anti-bad police.
Oh, I'm saying
anti-police.
Yeah, but the way the media,
right? But I'm just saying. So, yeah, but it's not just speaking as a black man, and I don't speak for the entire black race. But speaking as a black man, a lot of us are not anti-police. We're anti-bad police. And in our community, and it's usually a small number of the department that is this bad element that is always on the street doing all these things. You understand?
And by the way, in New York, 51% of the police department is either white or Latino. And he called the entire police department racist. Okay, this is the kind of stuff that gets me. How can you say that? Don't tell me that blacks are racist against blacks. I haven't heard a black cop beat up a white person. George Floyd or whatever.
So you can't say all of any group. And as a black man, I speak, a lot of times black people have been painted in a broad brush, like all black men are criminals and doing all this other stuff. And, that's why we're,
they're all radicals, because the media platforms the most extreme voices.
Right.
Because that's what gets them the views. Yeah. You want, no offense to you two guys, I love you, but I won't see you you two guys on CNN. Okay.
No, MSNBC had me once. They never called me back. Because No, well, I mean, I didn't fit.
Fox should have called you back, or Newsmax.
Huh?
Fox
Yeah,
or
well,
Newsmax should have called you back.
you know what? I never been on Fox, but MS because I literally didn't fit what they thought a black law enforcement officer was going to say, in dealing with police brutality cases and really understanding, man. Like, there's good cops out there, right? There's just few that have that
And by the way, there's a lot of
management issues that needs accountability.
There's a lot of good police brutality lawyers out there. Jonathan, okay, there's a guy on Twitter. He's a civil rights lawyer. His name is Arthur Laffer. Okay, but when he doesn't see a case for police brutality, he says it. This is not a case. Like with Landry when he got arrested. This was not police brutality. He was getting involved. He was interfering with an arrest. All right, it's not police brutality. So even police brutality lawyers, okay, you would think they hate the police or this and that. They don't hate the police, like you said, AJ. They just hate the bad apples.
Right, but you know what?
We have too many profiteers that they profit off of.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Oh, don't touch. People profit on division.
Right, they profit off of this, and then they profit off the settlement, and they get X amount of the settlement, and then they go into the next case, make a lot of noise, and then they settle, and that's what they do. Like, there are lawyers that's what they do.
Yeah.
They're really not defending our cause. They're just, you know what I'm saying? They going for these settlements.
Yeah, like Ben Crump, right? Let me tell you something. Somebody that was with one of the best. I learned from one of the best attorneys in New York, Benita Zellman, on police brutality cases, and even helped to write legislation.
Shout to Benita Zellman. Yes.
Yeah, for shows. If you're not going, a settlement, people listen to what I'm saying. A settlement is not a win. It's a settlement. You win when you go to trial.
Many people get money for nuisance lawsuits all the time.
Exactly. Settlement is not a win in police brutality case. You win when you go to trial because you create case law.
Yes. Right.
And if you're not creating case law, then you're just settling out of court for a monetary value. And that does not help the other cases of police brutality because it doesn't build case law into support of the next victim and the victim after that. These guys don't want police brutality to go away.
No,
they don't want true accountability and training and proper accountability of police management. They don't want none of that. They don't want none of that to happen because it will kill their cash cow.
That's correct. But that explains also why we never solve problems in this country.
Exactly.
I want to agree with Steve Anderson. Yes, we had the officer on when she tried to stop her partner, who was somewhat of a racist cop, from almost killing a suspect that was handcuffed. Then she was the one that got fired for stopping him. We've had her. I can't think of her name to save my life right now, but we've had her on the show.
She was in Buffalo. So we had to really put on a whole campaign to get her. She was fired, I believe, 6 months before she was eligible for retirement, and we had to put a whole campaign in for her to get her pension. So they finally gave her pension, but then the dude ended up suing her, and I'm not sure for whatever reason, and winning.
And defamation cases are very expensive. Okay.
Well, I mean, he was found guilty. She was found guilty. There
are cases like in Crazy Eddie's. One of Crazy Eddie's brothers was acquitted by a jury, but then there was a civil case, and he was found guilty in a civil case.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about the cop. The actual cop that she stopped from choking the guy. He ends up going to jail for another incident of police brutality. But then I guess he ends up suing her for defamation of the case that she got fired from. It was insane. And she's still, you know, God bless her. She's still in Buffalo, and she's still doing what she has to do and being an activist out there.
Carolyn Horn. Carol, Carol Horn.
Send me an email off camera.
A female Buffalo police officer was fired when she intervened to stop a fellow officer.
I'll send you the interview.
From using the chokehold on a handcuffed suspect in 2000.
Why would you use a chokehold on a handcuffed suspect?
She stopped him. She stopped him, and she was fired. She was later vindicated in court, winning back paying back a pension after a lengthy legal battle.
Damon, I think you work for corrections. Am I correct?
I used to. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you were corrections. So corrections officers, tell me if I'm wrong, handle much harder people than cops do, right?
All the time. We live with them.
We live with them, right?
Arrest them. We live with them.
The ones that the cops and the courts deem too dangerous to be on the streets,
right.
They're in jail. They're in correction.
Right.
And that's what he got to deal with on a day-to-day basis.
I don't hear about chokeholds with correctional officers. You know, maybe.
Well, I mean, we had to the culture changed. You know, we had. I don't know if people saw that saw that interview with that sheriff from Florida when he laid down the law on the protesters if they came to his county. And when I started in 1990, it was the same type of issue like that. If you hit a correction officer, you're going to the hospital. If you spit on correction officer, you're going to the hospital. If you harass a civilian employee, you're going to the hospital. Like, that was the attitude back then. Now jail, I mean, there's no control in jail. That's why I retired. You know,
it's dangerous job living with these people. I don't know
they took away, you know, they took away restrictive housing. Like, here's the thing. If someone breaks the rules in society, they rape, they murder, they assault, right?
Or do security stuff like I did.
No, yeah. I'm talking about like really like those type of issues.
Violent
issues. You put them in jail.
Well, the other day,
let him finish this one.
Listen, so you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So what happens when they do it in jail? They stopped allowing us to take those people that were threats to the other inmates and separate them. If they assaulted an officer, if they assaulted a civilian, we had to keep them in regular housing. This is that Mandami mindset.
Yes. He says there's actually no such thing as violence.
It just created chaos in New York State, where 2,000 correction officers for the state chose not to come back to work because it was more dangerous.
So right? I want to say one more thing too. So there is a difference from what Damon is describing as restrictive housing, where they're all housed separately but together, and solitary confinement. Right. So the fight against solitary confinement, somehow restrictive housing got put in there, and they got away with they did away with that. But you have to, if you separate them people from the street because they're a danger to the public. What happens when they're a danger to the other inmates? You have to separate them,
right?
For the safety
without solitary.
Now the law, they don't see, and this is why Democrats are losing, because of the fact that these white liberal Democrats are making decisions in black communities that are making the black community more dangerous. And even with the bail reform, the ecosystem that they created over the last decades, especially dealing with mental health, it was easier to get someone off the street in mental health, bring them in jail. They could get their food. And usually they'll do something to come to jail. They could get their food. They could get their evaluations. they could get their medication that they wasn't getting off the street. So now when you create this bail reform law, because I know guys in the wintertime, they'll break a window. And they knew they was coming up to the county jail for the wintertime. So you broke the ecosystem and you didn't substitute it with any type of services for mentally ill people that are out on the street. And this is why a lot of the
and they closed a lot of the mental institutions. They closed.
Oh, that was Cuomo.
Yeah.
Cuomo
I'm just saying
right.
they. I'm not saying who specifically.
Well, I'm saying
I'm not a fan of Cuomo neither.
Right. No, but I'm saying it was Cuomo. Cuomo closed a lot of the state mental places throughout the state. And that also messed it up. We have an issue in the Black community that is created by liberal policies. I don't care what people say.
Because the media platforms the people that agree with the so-called white liberals, okay, in the Black community. You see, the problem is that the kind of discussion that we're having, AJ, Damon, right? The problem is you guys don't get platformed and people don't learn because they don't want to platform you. They don't want people to learn. Okay, right. That's why the MSNBCs and the CNNs, and to an extent Fox too, whatever the case is, they don't want people to learn. You see, what I just heard you say was so eloquent. Seriously, it would change anybody's mind. But people don't hear you. So what has to be done is we have to raise your platform here so you can speak directly to the people. That's the only way. That's the only way it could be done. It's a hard way. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of labor. But I remember when you had only 2,000 subscribers.
You absolutely right.
And now we're coming up on 10,000.
Almost 10,000. Absolutely. You know.
So what has to be done is, okay, again, you guys are thoughtful. Okay, we can disagree on the nuances. That happens all the time. But the point is, people don't hear common sense voices like yourselves. Okay, right. That's what the problem is.
And you also don't have people. Everybody's in an echo chamber, so you don't have people that punch on both sides. So right. you're either beating up on the Republicans or you're only beating up on the Democrats.
That's what I like about Richie Torres. He beats up both sides.
Right. We punch on both sides. So it's we don't defend the Democrats just because they're Democrats or because they're Black Democrats. We hold them as much accountable as we hold the Republicans accountable. And I think some people will be like, but you know, you're making the case for the Republic. No, we're punching on both sides. And that's the bottom line. And a lot of people,
and you don't keep score. I punch this side 50%. I punch that side 50%.
Right. I can't tell you, but I know we punch on both sides. We've been very critical of the Republicans, but but let me just specifically,
Republicans in New York are awful.
Right. But let me also say this, and we used to say this all the time. So I'm going to be harder on a Democrat, especially a Black Democrat, who is abusing their power in a Black community because they should know better. So I'm always going to hold you more accountable. I'm going to hold the white politician accountable too, but you should know better.
But people don't hear what you just said in the last 60 seconds on major television. That's what the problem is, okay? So people don't hear that being articulated. All they hear is the voices of radicals that are aligned with the so-called white progressives. Okay, that's all they hear.
And we've also had. I don't just have Democrats on. We've had a lot of Republicans on. We've had the Republicans come on, and some of them actually made some sense. And one of the Westchester DA races, I actually supported the Westchester, the Republican. This was before the Trump Republicans, but I've supported the Republican running because his message on criminal justice was way stronger than the Democratic's message, and he had a policy that he was going to go after anybody, whether they was a political, a mayor or whatever, a police commissioner. He was going after everybody, and that's what I wanted to hear from my my district attorney. That's what I want to hear. None of the Democrats were talking that, so I was supporting that Republican candidate. So I don't believe in I don't believe in voting for someone for a party. That's why I'm an
Well, I
independent.
agree with you, and that's dangerous, by the way.
And that's why I'm an independent.
Well,
That's
this goes into John's question, right? He asked, well, why do black people continue to vote Democrat? Because we vote out of emotions. They trigger us out of emotions. And a little plug. That's why my book, Emotional Politics, Logical
You never
Failure.
told me about it.
he just finished it.
Yeah, I just finished. I just finished
yes,
it. You see, this ain't even the actual book. This is the copy. Emotional Politics, Logical Failure, because we vote emotionally. They use our emotions, on black people, and it becomes a logical failure because we vote. A lot of times we vote against our interests. This is why black communities look the way they do throughout the country. Because
we have that problem with a lot of Jewish people in New York. They vote against their interests. I'm not talking about the observant ones. I'm talking about mostly the secular ones. You have the same
really
problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
They support Mandani.
Yeah, I saw that. I did look up. I did the Israel Times, and it was the Jewish people that supported Mandani. I just read that article just now.
So this is a problem. That means we're all people. You have the same problem in the black community that we have in the white Jewish community, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. People are people.
Can I say something? So this is one of the things I always say. The problem with the division is we start on what our differences. That's where we start the conversation. If we started the conversation with our commonalities, it's easier to like. I have conversations with Muslims, Christians, Jewish people,
so do I.
People, Israelites,
friends,
Republicans, Democrats.
They're not all Mandani fans. I can tell you.
And once your conversation starts with our commonalities, we all have a lot of commonalities, and we feel this. We want to be safe. We want to provide for our family. We want, blah, 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 all the way down the line. These are our commonalities, but we start the conversation on our differences. And once you come to me a certain way, I can't hear anything else that you have to say. You know what I'm saying? I really just can't, like, as a person. So that's what I always encourage us to start with our commonalities with, and then start the conversation that way. And we would get a lot more done and talk to people on the other side. That's the other thing. We don't want to talk to people. We only want to talk to people who think like us or feel like us or are going to say the things we want to hear. You have to talk to people that disagree with you on the other side. You have to.
I actually learn a lot from the people who abuse me on social media. Not that I like it, but my point is you can learn a lot from your critics. You can.
Right. And I've been working on that a lot too. And then people say, why do you talk to these people? You have to talk to other people who think of, even if it's just to see how their mind works and why they think the things that they think, even if you think they're wrong, you have to have these conversations like you do.
We have got so divided in politics. When I first got the job, and I was a union delegate, and back then Republicans actually was real big supporters of unions. And there was a lot of people that was Republicans, and also, there was a will to work across the aisle with the Democrats and the will to work across the aisle with the Republicans. It wasn't this
anymore.
Yeah, it wasn't this gangbanging, man. It wasn't this political gangbanging that we see now. And when I used to roll with Dr. Giulio Cavallo, God bless the dead, who was at that time the president of the Independence Party in Westchester County, we hung out with Republicans and Democrats at the functions, and it was all good. Now, it's insane. It's really insane, and it's really, and I really feel bad for the Republicans because they're stuck in New York. They're stuck in a box, like they scared to talk to black people. And use Trump. Like, Trump reached out to black folks. He wasn't scared.
He got 30% of the vote, I think, in New York City, which is impossible, considered impossible.
He won the Bronx. Trump won the Bronx. He won the Bronx. Like, that's crazy. But do you talk to a Republican? they're like they're scared to talk to black people. What is wrong with y'all?
Not only that, I'm not afraid to talk to progressives. I have actually progressive
I talk to anybody.
Far left friends. Okay, I talk to them. I disagree with them. I tell them what I think, whatever. I talk to them, whatever. You have to talk to people that you disagree with. Otherwise, you're gonna live in a silo.
And like you said, you learn from your critics and people who disagree with you. When you have those conversations, they learn from you too. Like, so it's that engaging in ideas. The great thing about how this experiment that this country was built on was the ideas of everybody. Like, it was everybody. Like, if you look at the Founding Fathers, any documentary about the Founding Fathers, they didn't agree. Like, man, I started to realize how far off.
That's why people don't understand that politics is all a mechanism to move us forward with our disagreements. That's what it really is. You know, if we agreed on everything, we all need our heads examined.
I wanted to say this before I forgot. So after the last time you were on, I called Damon. So I was watching the movie The Accountant, and he was looking at this one company that had this money scheme, and he was like, "Why does this sound familiar?" He's like, "Crazy." He said, "Crazy Eddie Antar," and he explained the whole scheme. He said, "That's what these people are doing." I was like, "Yo, they just talked about it on The Accountant."
And she just wanted to get in bed with him. All of a sudden, he goes off on a
tangent. Yeah. And he's like, "Crazy Eddie Antar," and he goes and he explains the whole how it went down. I was like,
I'll describe to you what the Panama pump was. Okay.
That's what he said, the Panama pump. That's what he said.
Right. I'll explain to you what it was. Actually, I take credit for that, even though they gave Eddie credit, but they always give the boss credit. I don't mind. What happened was, when we started out in business from 1969 to 1980, we were garden variety tax evaders. You know, cash business, put money aside, steal the sales tax. That stealing the sales tax also allowed us to undercut our competitors who were collecting the sales tax. So we had the advantage. Price is insane. It was true. It was Price is Insane, subsidized by New York's taxpayers.
Wow.
By the sales tax. Okay. Then around 1980, we're going to go public. Now, if you're underreporting your income, the value of your company is going to be lower. So what we decide to do is gradually reduce the skimming, which creates a higher path of growth. Because if you make 10 million, but you only report 5, you skim 5, right? $5 million in profits. But if you make 10 million the second year, your profits didn't grow. How do you make your profits grow? By skimming less money, by skimming 4 million instead of 5. Your profits grow from 5 to 7. Like, it's even better than this. It's even better than this. So we eventually get it down to 0 in 1984, which is probably, I would say, 80%. I don't know. The most honest financial statement we did, because we stopped skimming. We didn't stop skimming because we wanted to pay our taxes. We said it wasn't worth it to scam the IRS. There was a bigger fish out there. So we go public now, based upon those earnings growing like that, right? And the stock, what happened to me? And the stock,
it goes from like $7 to $85 or something.
Right. The stock skyrockets. Antar's is selling stock, whatever. But before that happened was, by 1984, when we went public, we committed the perfect crime. Nobody would have caught us. Okay, the feds wouldn't have caught us. Nobody would have caught us. But what happened was, because we were not stealing the sales tax anymore, what happens? We're not as competitive anymore, and we're starting to lose market share. So Eddie's solution to that was to inflate the profits, where I came in, right? Now, there was one point in time where I explained to them, okay, if you skim $1 million and it's a 40% tax rate, you're actually evading $400,000 in taxes. You get the math? Skim $1 million, 40%, $400,000 in taxes, right? Now,
right.
If we overstate our income by $1 million, right, we're overpaying taxes by the same $400,000. Get that?
Right.
But now the company has an inflated net income of $1.2 million. The other 8% of $2 million, whatever, 60%, whatever, 60%, $2 million. So now you have an inflated net income of $1.2 million and you've overpaid your taxes by $400,000, reverse of skimming. That's where the Panama pump came in. He takes $2 million from Israel, routes it through Panama, and puts it into the United States. So now, that $2 million, I say, well, it cost him $2 million. No, it did not. Okay, it cost the company. It cost the company about $800,000, 40%. It was $2 million, whatever, 40%, whatever. But he had an inflated net income of $1.2 million, and his family and him own most of the stock. So it created about $30 or $40 million in valuation for the company.
Wow.
Despite that didn't exist prior. So that inflated prices, and it's capital gains money. So that was the Panama pump. Skimming, gradual reduction in skimming, and then taking that money and putting it back in. Because
wow,
he explains that in the movie. Like he literally explained that in the movie like that.
You get it. Here's to sum it up. You get a bigger bang for the buck, inflating your profits and overpaying your taxes as a public company, than understating your profits and evading taxes as a private company. Because the math works different when you're a public company, because everything is based upon a multiple of earnings. And to be honest with you, money laundering was my favorite crime.
Well, we're coming up 7:36. I know you wanted to go into the Mandani.
I think he touched it.
I'm not in any rush. Unless you want to kick me out, I don't care.
No. We got 30 minutes.
We got onto all the topics you wanted to address.
No, we did. Mandani thing's simple. 1.7 million he raises. It's not grassroots money. It's all through bundlers. Okay, that 1.7 million gets him 7 million in matching funds. So he's up to $8.7 million. But it's all bundle money. Whether the government gave it to him or not, it was all originated through bundlers. All right. Then you have the PACs that spent $1.9 million assisting him. Okay, that $1.9 million was more than the 1.7 he raised. Other argument against being grassroots, even if the money wasn't through bundlers, the 1.7 million, even if it wasn't through bundles, but it was. Okay, so he raised more money from super PACs than he did from bundlers, and he raised no money organically from anybody. All right? So if you add the 8.7 million that he got between the 1.7 million in bundlers and the $7 million in campaign matching funds, that's 8.7 million, plus the 1.9 million that the super PAC spent assisting him, you have $10.6 million ecosystem. That's the way you could basically sum it up.
Interesting.
And I'll tell you, as the inventor of the Panama pump, I'm jealous of him.
Wow.
well, I mean,
professional courtesy amongst former and current crooks.
But let me ask you: Do you think? I know you haven't looked in like other is that new or is that is that something that politicians are now doing?
What?
Like what Mandami is doing with the
yes,
money?
they're doing it, but maybe not to the degree he's doing it. All right, but 99% of them that are doing it aren't pretending that they're not doing it. They're saying, yeah, that's politics. We do. What he's doing is he's doing business as usual, maybe even better than them, okay, or to more extreme than them. That's what, that any politician would be jealous. But he's selling people on the opposite story. That's where the real story lies. This has nothing to do with his politics. Yes, I don't like his politics. I don't like his stances. But what we're discussing here has nothing to do with it. He could be a Republican or a Democrat. Okay, it doesn't matter. What he is doing is wrong.
So this is what, when we're dealing with a local story now and a local PAC and stuff, and the question is always asked by various people: is it illegal or just immoral?
Well,
I don't know why that should make a difference, but
it does make a difference.
Yeah.
It does make a difference. Okay, and at the very least, his actions, in this case, Mandani, is immoral. Is it illegal? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not Jonathan. You know, I believe it to be, but again, I am not the ultimate word on these things. You have to leave it up to.
So if it's let's just say it's immoral and not illegal, why is it a problem, and why should the regular people care?
Well, they should care if their politicians are lying to them, and if they don't care, shame on them. They're going to be
Exactly.
I mean, I might be stuck with them too, but they're going to be stuck with these people. I'm just one person. If 1.5 million people want him in, fine. Then 1.5 million people are going to pay the consequences of it.
And I keep telling
not
people,
from me, but through his bad policies.
Right, and I keep telling people elections have consequences, and there's a saying: the people get the government they deserve, because they get the government they
yeah, definitely. You know, it is what it is. I mean, I could hardly find any policy I agree with him. Yeah, there was a show the other day, Bill Maher, right?
I watch Bill a lot.
He said
he caught a lot of flack for going. He caught a lot of flack from going to see Trump. He caught a lot of flack. Yeah,
he caught a lot of flack. But that's an inspiration. The fact that he was able to go and see they hated each other. Okay, but now I don't think they hate each other. I think that they have a mutual respect, which gets back to what you're saying. People have to sit down and talk to the opposition.
Right, but, and he still throws this, and he's still hitting Trump as hard as ever.
The other day, he said something very important. He said, there are things I agree with Trump on, tightening the border, all right, strengthening the police, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He says, but one thing that's always constant about him, and I'm not agreeing with what he's saying, whatever, is that he always fucks up the execution of it. So
he also talked about the way of going about doing it. Sometimes is also.
I don't like some of the things that he does in the execution. I could agree with the policy. I don't like the execution. Right. Whatever. But the problem that you have here is it's like a baseball team. You're either for the Democrats or for the Republicans or against them, and that's fucking crazy. That reminds me of when I worked for Crazy. You have to understand, I started working when I was 14 years old. Okay, I mean, he was my God, and I worshipped him. And the trouble that it got me into, okay, was a shitload of trouble it got me into. You know, I might not have gone to jail. I might have gotten house arrest. But you have to understand the process can be just as grinding as the punishment. Okay, not knowing what happened with the gun on your head, whatever the case is. All right. But, it taught me lessons. And it really nauseates me when people worship anybody. Okay, whether it's Trump, whether it's Obama, whether it's Mamdani, whether it's Elise Stefanik or whatever, I don't care. But that's what we're having today. The Bible says, back in the day, people used to be idol worshipers, right? Idol worship still exists today. It's just taking a different form. We worship.
Exactly.
Idol worship exists. And
you're absolutely right.
What it's akin to idol worship.
Exactly. And it's real sad. In the Jamal Bowman Lattimore race, there was a group of Jewish people in the Westchester, in District 16 or the Westchester community. And they said something that was very unique, which Black people still haven't understood yet. They had a whole website that said community before party, that we would fight for the interests of our community, no matter what party, right? Black people do not do that.
Party over community.
We fight for party over community. We don't fight for the community interests.
But you go one layer deep, and I'll tell you where we have the same problem in the Jewish community. Okay, even the people on your side can be grifters. Okay, you get a rabbi that's a grifter. He's saying the talk and doing that, but he's also taking advantage of you. On the Black community too, you have people that say the things that the community likes to hear, but they're grifters also. They're not really doing it for the community; they're doing it for themselves. Okay,
Exactly.
and that's everywhere. That's not just in it's in
Right.
Jewish
Yeah,
community.
but if you're honest about it and it's all transactional, then say it's all transactional, not that you're doing it for the community. You understand what I'm saying? Like you're doing it because it's transactional.
Right.
I gave my support to this person because I got these things. Not I did this because it's the best interest in the people. And that's the problem that got me when you're talking about what you're doing is for the best interest of the people, and it's really in the best interest of your pocket. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing I push back on a lot.
Well, people don't understand that. They don't get it. It goes back to what I said with idol worship. We worship celebrities today. We worship ideas today. It's really no different than worshiping a wooden idol in a lot of ways. At least the wooden idol can't make policy. Okay, it's actually worse today than it was back in the day.
Exactly, because they make policy that just tears your community up, and then it's like, oh my God, you know what? And then they say, well, why this goes on in our community? Because it's racism. It's the white man. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about?
We don't teach critical thinking. We don't teach critical thinking. That's what the problem is. We program. We don't teach critical thinking. We don't teach people how to argue, not heated argument. Okay,
a debate of ideas.
Right. Yeah. How to debate ideas on the screen. Me and whatever. We don't teach them that, and that's what's missing from our society. And you can see in the way that this country has become a shithole. And it doesn't matter who's president.
Anything that I don't agree with has to be fake news or has to be a lie. It can't be. If I don't agree, then it's not real. Like there are other people who have good ideas. There are sometimes where that person is right and I am wrong, but it's just we're in this thing like if you're against what we're talking about, then you're against us.
Oppositional is more important than putting forward practical ideas, and that's unfortunate. Right. That's unfortunate today.
Critical thinking is a lost art. It's not taught in school. It's not taught at home. We're not having a discussion. And when you have someone who critically thinks, we want masses, we want sheep that don't think for themselves, instead of encouraging people to think for themselves. When people start thinking for themselves, then when some of the stuff that they hear and they're being told, they're like, hey, that don't sound right. Why is this that way? And then they don't want that. They depend on, I've had conversations with some of my local officials going back when we first started this 11 years ago. And I mentioned you benefit from the electorate being uninformed and misinformed. The problem when Black Westchester got started, we started informing people. And they didn't like that, so they tried to discredit us.
That's why you will never be major media.
Right, and they tried to discourage us. Yes. They tried to discourage our credibility.
That's why we're stuck, because we're really informing people.
Well, and we're not charging for this. This is not like, we're not charging you to be a guest. We're not charging the people that come on that we fight for. We're not charging the people. You don't have to pay to watch the show. You don't have to pay. Some of the papers, you read 4 or 5 articles, then there's a paywall. Like you have to pay now to read the rest of that for the rest of the month. We're not charging. We're not a pay. So we're doing this and living off donations and advertisement or whatever to keep it free for the people. So we're giving the people information that they normally don't get and making it available to those who can't afford it, which normally doesn't happen. And that's the problem that we've had and the struggle that we had over these 11 years. So thank you to all these new people that are watching us. Thank you to all these new people that are subscribing. When I first started, Damon, we were at 9.72 and we're at 9.73K. So a bunch of people are listening and subscribing. So keep subscribing so we can get to that 10K.
Anytime you want me on to discuss anything, I am around for you guys. I love you guys.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I just feel bad that Jonathan wasn't here. I'm really insulted.
Next time you come, we're gonna make sure we get Jonathan.
I would not have scheduled this appearance knowing that Jonathan was being overlooked. Okay, yeah, that's
but Jonathan's on all the time, so Jonathan is always on. But it was a great dynamic having both of you on, because you were talking about one perspective, and then he was talking about the legal characteristics, and then he was also talking about as a criminal
That
attorney.
way, we would actually have a better discussion on RICO if he was on.
Right. And
Right,
as a criminal attorney, when we first were talking, and he had the paperwork for all the accusations against Tish James, and he said, well, the funniest thing he said, because he was on without you once. He said if he was her attorney, the first thing he would tell her is shut the fuck up, because like she, by saying, oh, it was a mistake, oh, I didn't realize what I was signing, like those things are not sincere.
That's why you have a Fifth Amendment right, because you have a right against self-incrimination. Use it, for God's sake.
Because anything you say
Exactly.
can be used against you is not just a clever saying; it is actually the truth. Like,
It's the truth. Shut the fuck up. Choose a language. You might
yeah,
bleep that.
he said that's what the first thing he would have told her as his attorney. Because as a criminal attorney, if he was defending her, that is the first thing he would have instructed. And he was like, because her comments afterwards made the situation worse.
Right.
So, but he broke down the defense.
If he had shut up, it
Right.
would not have motivated me to dig deeper. Okay. People would have forgotten about the story by now. Yes. And she would be way out ahead. She didn't say anything that made things worse for herself. But,
And agreeing with you, a local individual, if he hadn't decided to poke the bear like he did and just let Damon's first story go, there wouldn't be a fifth and sixth story. We would not have dug deeper. Like, you inspired me to dig deeper by what you were saying, by coming at me. And now all of the people who you had pissed off are sending us information about you now. So it's just like, if he had left it alone and not said anything in that situation, we'd be on another story at this point. But there's so much. You made me want to dig further into you, like what you're saying. You made me want to dig further into you by the things you were saying.
Yeah. One thing I want to say this before we go off, whatever. We could stay on as long as you want, whatever. When you said every people are sheep, in America, we have the ruling class are competing shepherders.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, they're competing for the sheep, and that's unfortunate.
You're absolutely right.
I said they want the people to be sheep. They don't want them to be independent thinkers. That's what I was.
Right, but you have competitive shepherds.
Fighting for that, right.
Exactly.
So, but I just wanted to be clear, because anytime I say anything, so I am not saying everyone is sheep. So
neither am I.
No.
They sound clip me. I don't give a shit.
I have to say that, because someone will take that one part and be like, "Oh, he's saying all."
I hate that shit when people do that on social media. To me,
unfortunately, we have to say that. So that's why I said what I was saying is they want you to be sheep and don't want you to be independent thinkers, and that's exactly what I said.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, there are a lot who do not look into anything. I also want to say to all my people, and I have to say this often, especially in this climate we're in, when you read something on social media, take a minute to see if it's true. It takes no time to Google it or something. And if just one website that you
Google has AI now. You just click the button.
Right. And if you're getting it from one website that every established media has not covered the story, this one website that you never heard of did not scoop all the established media. Like, you know what I'm saying? You need to start looking for credible sources.
Well, don't trust, only verify. That's what really.
Right.
Exactly.
Verify.
Not trust them. You trust them.
And we encourage everybody.
Only verify.
Encourage everybody. Do not take our word for it. Look it up yourself. When we write the stories, we put the documents in there so you can read them yourself. We send you the links so you can go look at the stuff yourself. And that's being an independent thinker. We don't want sheep as our followers. We want independent thinkers. We want people to challenge what we're saying. You know what I'm saying? And ask the questions, why? That's what we're trying to encourage our readers our listeners to do.
Which is my philosophy when we were talking earlier about gubernatorial candidate. I just want common sense people to run against each other. Then I'll pick.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Yep. Yeah, man, Sam, we're about to end it. Because it's almost bedtime for me.
I live in New York City. Bedtime for me is 5 in the morning.
Well, you and me both. I'm the one who does all the writing and all the background and the one-man band behind running all the, the maintenance on the website. So I don't sleep, I nap. So like I'm with you. Like I probably
work for the night. There's no disturbances.
That's my best time.
No calls, no noise, no this.
That is actually my best time to get most of this stuff done. And then when I get these stories up, they're ready for when you wake up in the morning and they're there for you to see. So that's so I'm with you. I may take a nap, but I probably won't be calling it. It'll be like 4 or 5 in the morning before I call it. So yeah. But I want to thank everybody, brother man. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And I want to thank all of your followers who come on when you're here. Thank all of those who subscribe. If you like what you see here, please subscribe. I
say subscribe to Black Westchester Magazine.
Absolutely.
These are common sense guys. It doesn't matter whether you agree with it.
That's absolutely. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank everybody for supporting. We're coming on our 11-year anniversary soon. We would not have been here and done this without all of you. Like you just said, we could have the best show in the world, the best paper, and the best website. But if there's nobody that needs to be on an ad. Yes, we take advertising all the time. Anybody want to advertise, blackwestchester@gmail.com. Send us the information.
Thank you. Please like and share. Please help us with the YouTube algorithm.
We wouldn't be here without all of you. Without your support.
Please follow.
And that's in follows, that's in likes, that's in comments. Make sure you comment to it. That's in those who advertise. That's for those who don't have anything to advertise and make donations and stuff. All of these things keep it going so we can keep this free for the people. We have done this. We didn't do this. They call us the voice of the people. We didn't do this to become the voice of the people. We did this to give the people a voice. So, you know what I'm saying? While everybody looks at this as me and Damon's paper and then me and I want the community to say that's our show, not just Damon and me show. We made this for you, to give you a voice, to give you information. And that's what drives us. Believe me, I've wanted to quit several times. I'm done.
That's human.
Right. I'm done with this. I've said I was done several times. We get attacked. It's funny. We get attacked. So I get attacked for supporting you. And then from one side, then I get attacked from the other side that I'm attacking you. Like I can't be doing both things. Like so, but I get attacked from both sides. But you know what? We know why we do this. We do this for the people. All the people, especially our people, Black people, because we wanted to change the narrative of how Black people are portrayed and give Black people a voice. But this is for everybody. As you saw in a recent article, we when I wrote down all the candidates that were running in the primary, I didn't write just all the people in the Democratic Party because we have a lot of people that are Republicans. We did a survey. I need to do another one. There's a nice group of people that are Republicans, that are independents, that are Christian, that are Muslim, that are, all these things, that are Jewish. So we don't just have just this Black Democratic audience. So we speak to everybody, and we will speak to everybody on both sides. And we criticize everybody on both sides. We will always punch on both sides. I
like that saying, by the way, punch on both sides.
I actually got that from Bill Maher. It started because he went to see Trump, and he was like, "Yo, everybody knows."
We had this condescending guest, this piece,
right? And he said,
"I never saw Bill Maher get angry on the air at a guest."
Right.
You don't have to. What did he say? I forgot the term.
Right, but he was like, he said he's known for punching on both sides, but he believed that Kid Rock was a friend of his and Trump's, and said, "Yo, why don't you come see Trump?" He said he had a conversation. He said things to Trump that he says on the show. Some Trump agreed with or said he agreed with,
Trump found funny.
And Trump told him, he said, "Man, I watched the show last week. I thought you would be nicer to me since you were coming here to meet me." He was like, and since he's been there, Bill has been as critical of Trump like he didn't change.
But now there's a line of communication where two people that disagree can try to work something out for the better of both of them and everybody else.
I want to say
That's
this
the
one.
key.
I want to say this one more time because this person might not have been on earlier. When the feds investigate, it is a lengthy process. I know we like microwave things, like we want things to happen right now, but they stay and they build cases. Same thing when she's investigating. They build cases before they actually indict and arrest. When they get to the point of indicting and arresting, they have usually got enough information to knock it out the park. And the feds have almost 100% rating, is 90 something percent,
95%, I think.
95%, because they take as long as they need before they indict. So this process, why she's not arrested yet, why she hasn't even been indicted. First off, these are allegations. Let me say that first. She has not been convicted of anything. These are allegations.
In other words, she could be guilty and 90% likely, but their bar is 95%.
Right. So they're investigating. And I say that not just on this, because we have this conversation with local things, why the DA didn't indict this one. When the feds take their time and they want to make sure they can knock it out the park before they actually go forth with an arrest, with an indictment, with a case. So, we have to let the process play out. And we want things to move faster. And unfortunately, that's the way it works. It doesn't work overnight. When they were investigating you, by the time they came to you, they probably had all the goods before you knew you were being investigated. They
didn't have the Panama pump. They knew nothing about the Panama pump. It was a perfect crime. Okay? And I leveraged it. I leveraged my knowledge of the Panama pump, which they thought was a great idea too. Not that they thought it was right. Dude, I leveraged it to get myself house arrest. And that's probably what got me my work after Crazy Eddie.
Right. And I also want to say, like I said, my grandfather told me something. Whatever you do, be the best at it, because the government will always find a job for you. You are now like the guy, like Catch Me If I Can, that was doing all the bank fraud and the lawyer. He then worked with them to convict these type of people. You are working with all these agencies, educating them on how they can find this fraud. And I said, whatever you do, be the best at it, because the government will always find a job for you. They will always have need for you if you're the best at what you do. So that's my grandfather told me since I was 5. So I always remembered that. I didn't know what it meant, but I always remembered that. So what you're doing now is incredible. So I want to.
Well, you're doing that is incredible too. It's a two-way street.
And I want everybody to check out your website, which is White Collar Fraud, which is whitecollarfraud.com. And you write several blog posts and everything. So I want everybody that watches us to check out your work too. So make sure y'all go.
Well, here's this one thing I would say: for every minute you're on the air, you have 30 minutes of time off the air that you're working on it. It's the same thing with blog posts.
Right, absolutely.
Blog post, it takes 20 minutes. It didn't take me 20 minutes to write it. It took 3-4 days, sometimes months, depending upon the evidence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I tell people every story I write, there's 10 that I didn't get to, or that I didn't write. Like, because it takes investigation. Like you just can't give me the information 12 o'clock and I put the stories up at 2. Like it takes some time to get all this, to confirm all this, to investigate, and then to get double confirmation, and
then to write it the correct way.
Right. Then you got to write it and then sometimes rewrite it, and then so anyway. But thank you for all that.
My last draft is rewritten 2 seconds before I publish.
Right. And sometimes
right up until camera time.
No, and sometimes, because it's not like writing the paper it's done. There are times I've published and then have actually made re-edits because I realized I forgot something or I left something out and I didn't word it the right way. So
been there.
Yes, so that happens too. But thank you for all you do. Thank you all you listeners, and for everybody tuning in for the first time. This is Black Westchester presents the People Before Politics show. We simulcast live Sundays 6 to 8 on Facebook, on YouTube, on X, occasionally on Instagram, and whatever other social media platforms they start adding, we'll be simulcasting live on those as well. So follow us. The website is blackwestchester.com. Read the stories, leave comments, give us your feedback. That is very important. We want to hear from you. all of you. So everything we talked about is on blackwestchester.com. And we put out a monthly print newspaper, and you can see the digital versions also on the website. You can catch every episode you miss either on our YouTube channel or on the website as well. I am AJ Woodson. This is my partner, Damon K. Jones. We've been giving you the news with the Black point of view and real talk for the community since 2014.
Yes, and check us out tomorrow. Tomorrow is the Black economy, where we talk about Black economics in the Black community, and tomorrow we are talking about Mandami's policies and what does it mean for Black New Yorkers on the Black economy. And on Wednesday is Wellness Wednesdays, where we talk about health, wellness, mental clarity. Thursday is Motivational Thursday, where we discuss well-being and spirituality on Thursdays. And Friday morning is the morning tea, where I give a rap. That's a live show. Other ones are pre-recorded. The other ones are pre-recorded, but the morning tea is live, where we just on for maybe about 30-40 minutes talking about what happened.
And I might start popping up on the morning tea just for the heck of it.
Yeah, the morning tea. So check us out, and then we're back again on Sunday. The People Before Politics show.
And we both also, somebody said, where is Tasha? We gave her a show on Monday. She doesn't do it every Monday, called Elevation Nation. She was involved in the election, working with some of the candidates. So maybe she'll pick back up on her show whenever she wants to do it on whatever Mondays we are here. We gave her a platform. And also, lastly, both Damon and I have a series of books. So buy our books. That's another way that you can support us. And until next week, peace.
Peace. Thank you,
everybody. Your book, I'll buy 3 copies.
Oh man, appreciate.
I will send
you sure, man? I wrote like 9.
Well, I only have 3, so I will definitely. Damon, give me your email.
My crazy Eddie Luth is almost gone. I don't have that much.
So if Damon, give me your email address, I will definitely send you the link.
Hey, Sam, man, thank you again, man, for being a friend of the show and coming on, man, and
thank you
giving
for
us
having me on.
Yeah, man, we definitely appreciate it.
To be able to talk and expand than 3-minute talking points.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Thank you all the new people that are watching for the first time. Make sure you subscribe on the YouTube and make sure you like and leave comments to the show and to the articles on Black Westchester. Peace.
All right, peace out, everybody. Have a blessed night.
Thank you to everyone who supported us through Super Chat. Your contributions keep independent media alive and thriving. We couldn't do it without you. Stand up, speak out, rock the message that matters. Community before party. Get your shirt today and let your vote wear your interest and values over party loyalty. Stand strong, speak loud, wear the truth. The Black Mental Health Matters Tea. Support health, wellness.
This is the People Before Politics show, broadcast every Sunday at 6 p.m. Hosts Damon K. Jones and AJ Woodson bring you the news that impacts our community. Join us for unfiltered, unapologetic coverage of the stories that matter most. Black Westchester Magazine presents The People Before Politics show, the news with the Black point of view.